Oh my gosh.
Hi guys.
Hi.
Happy Tuesday, last day of October. So happy Halloween for those of you that are going to be celebrating it tonight. So we're talking today about
true grit and all about your mindset. And we wanted to touch on this topic, even though last week we had said we wanted to talk about a side hustle. We're going to bump that up to next week because we just feel that mindset is such an important topic, and it's something we talk about a lot, and we just wanted to go a little bit deeper today. And, you know, really everything comes down to your mindset, right? The way you think, the way you feel in different situations, how you feel when you wake up in the morning, how you interact with people throughout your day, how you look at challenges that come up or obstacles that come up, and how you decide to find solutions and how you make choices.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think, in each of the episodes, we touch on certain things about the mindset, and it's something that we're going to keep going deeper and deeper into. And if you've been to any one of our programs, either offline or our online program, you'll know that we work a lot around this idea of reframing our mindset and really thinking about, hey, Paul. Hi, Mama. So actually, if you guys are here watching, can you say hi? Because it's always nice to see who's watching us. It just gives us a little bit of extra encouragement and face palms, things like that. But yeah, so I guess for those of you that have come to our program, you've seen that we talk about reframing our mindset, and sometimes it's hard to do when we're in the situation or when we're really, stuck. Hey, Hamish. So today we really want to look at how can we, look at things differently even more, and how can we build on this growth mindset, right, rather than a fixed mindset. I mean, it's something that we're both constantly working on ourselves. I'm very fixed in my mindset about a lot of things, and there's plenty of room to change there, but so often it's just about being, proactive rather than just staying where we are and not necessarily being happy where we are, but just knowing that there's always room for improvement. When we're in our daily events or daily situations, think about how you're acting to the situation or how you're reacting, right? And the problem is we tend to see that we lose sight of what's in our control and what's not, right? So how do we try and know that we can only control ourselves and the actions that we do or the reactions that we have to someone else? And rather than taking responsibility for the things that happen or don't happen, right, we tend to blame other people. I think we talked about this a little bit too, where it's like if certain things aren't working the way that we want to, we tend to blame the other person, rather than taking that control and responsibility in ourselves, because that's the only thing that we can really focus on. But it doesn't mean victimizing ourselves, or trying to put ourselves in our own rabbit hole. It's just understanding where you are and what you can control and how much of it you can control in the situation. As well as, I think, envisioning where you want to go. Because, this idea of manifesting what you want, it's not so rah-rah. It is definitely, possible. I think it's just trying to find something that works and resonates for you. And we can't, vision every single outcome. Hey, Days. But we can't control, how the vision sort of progresses from there.
Yeah, and I guess, sometimes I totally get it. Like, if things are really tough or you're going through this transition point and everyone around you is like, be positive, and stay positive, and it's hard, and I get it. And I think,
hey, Pinky.
Hi, Pinky. I think even this idea of positivity can be shifted, and how we look at it, because it's not so much about just being happy all the time or blindly being optimistic, but it's more about, how do you focus on what's possible? How do you focus on the positive aspects of a situation? And how do you focus on growing? And I think, so much of our mindset, so often, like, the natural inclination is to focus on, like, okay, the things we don't have, or, it's a rainy day and it's a gray day today, right? And, a simple shift of mindset can be, okay, it's really depressing, and I don't feel like going out, and I don't feel like doing anything. Or I can look at it and go, okay, it might be a really great day to like curl up with a book, or to do a different type of activity that's more conducive for this kind of like environment or setting or mood even. So today we're going to dive a little bit deeper into sort of 3 types of mindsets. We'll talk about fixed mindsets, we'll talk about growth mindsets, and something I think we really focus on. Hi, Daryl. Something I think we really focus on at the Change School is possibility thinking. And so I think for us it's less about just positivity thinking, but more about possibility thinking. And because all of that sort of ties into other things that we always talk about, like reinventing your career or reinventing yourself, it's all about seeing the possibilities. So it does take self-awareness. It does take building resilience, so that ability to kind of bounce back from adversity. And it does take grit, which is, a concept I really like, because it's this whole idea of having that motivational drive to keep on pushing through something, even when it gets really hard and annoying and uncomfortable.
Yeah, so first up is the fixed mindset. A lot of people have started to talk about this growth mindset, so we're going to take you through, as briefly as we can, but if there's any questions and you want us to go deeper in that, we can. Yeah. But the fixed mindset really assumes that our character, our creativity, our intelligence, the way that we are all static, right? And that we can't change it. And that it's something that has been embedded from, the very, very, very early stages of, our being. And so those are things that when someone has a fixed mindset, people tend to think that you can't meaningfully make change on the things that are imprinted in you. However, it's that sort of thing where it's nature versus nurture, exactly. Right? It's kind of looking at that and thinking about which parts are nurture, which parts are nature, which parts are your genes, et cetera, et cetera. But a fixed mindset also assumes like that we have a fixed definition of certain things such as success, right? Or, the measure of those qualities, right? Things that we look at tend to be fixed because of either our experience or, the background that we've had, where we've come from, maybe the social surrounds that we've been in, the people that we've, surrounded ourselves with. All of those things, when you're contained or when you've been in a certain, say, company for 10 years, or you're in a certain social setting, or you have a certain beliefs or whatever it is, all of those things can really keep us fixed if we don't go outside of our networks or of the communities that we, are in all the time. So a fixed mindset tends to hinder our ability to create the right change, especially when we're going through really tough moments or when we're going through pivotal moments, right? Because if we can't look at things differently, we will stay or remain where we are. And we then accept the status quo as is. And we sort of go, okay, well, that's just how everything is. So why bother making a change, right? Yeah. We see that a lot. And we always sort of put that aside and go, okay, well, I'm just going to continue, feeling the way that I am, living my life the way that I am, because I can't do anything to change it.
It's out of my control.
Exactly, right? You feel trapped.
Yeah, and stuck, which is where you get stuck, right?
Exactly. So that's, if you haven't watched episode 3, we talk about how to get unstuck.
Yes.
I think one of the things is like how, if you have a fixed mindset, you're also more fearful of trying to do things outside of your comfort zone because you may have a fear of failure, right? And this concern that if you do something, it's never going to be right, so why bother even doing it? So I think one of the things that we can, try and look at is our self-limiting beliefs. Yeah. That tends to be something that we can pay more attention to when, we're trying to make a change or look at the way that we're thinking about things, right?
Or try to challenge ourselves,
exactly.
Right? I guess sometimes we kind of get scared because, like you said, right, like, if we have these, like, ideas of what success means, then we're kind of scared because we think that if we're not doing that, then we're failing, right? And we're scared to try things.
Exactly. And I think a lot of the times if you're in a fixed mindset, you're also a bit more skeptical, right? And also perhaps more complacent. Or people in that space are a bit more complacent and sort of just roll along life as it is. And that's, each to their own. However, if you're feeling you really want to make something happen because you're unhappy in your situation or you're unfulfilled or you're just needing that change and you're stuck, then it's really looking at your mindset, right? And perhaps reflecting and going, Am I feeling complacent? Am I skeptical about things? Do I have self-limiting beliefs? What are those self-limiting beliefs? And how do I move forward in building my confidence, as well as nurturing my mind so that I am able to be more open about certain things that are out there. So I think how do we sort of move out of that headspace is really questioning those key things and seeing what ways we can slowly chip away at our fixed mindset to start building our growth mindset.
Yeah, because it's so much about like self-awareness, right? Again, which is something we are always talking about, but sometimes it really does take that time to just check in with yourself in order to gauge where your mind is at, right? So in a sense, if you're trying to figure out whether or not you have a fixed mindset, or if you're trying to get out of that headspace, it's good to just think about your own mental habits. We all have mental habits. Hey, Josh. So, as an example, I guess a few questions you could just take a moment to think about today is like, okay, what is something that you've always wanted to do but haven't done, right, for whatever reason? And if you really dig deep, you probably find that it's because of some kind of self-limiting belief or self-doubt or this fear that, you're not good enough or that someone's going to judge you, right? And, another thing is like, how do you react when somebody at work maybe comes to you with like this crazy idea or gets really excited? We all know those ideas people, right? What's the response, right? Are you immediately one to find the holes in that problem and be like, okay, these are the reasons why it can't happen? Or are you more likely to kind of run with it and explore and be open to experimenting and bouncing ideas and just there's nothing to lose, right? So I guess not having that immediate resistance to risk, because that also is just a perception, right? Unless you try, you don't actually know what the risks are. Or another example is like, when is the last time you really tried to stretch yourself or challenge yourself and put yourself in a really uncomfortable situation? And a lot of times, at face value, we're like, okay, that doesn't make sense. Why would I do that, right? Like, that's not something I'm good at, or that's not something I've ever done before. But I guess for us, we would believe, well, that's exactly why you should do it, right? Because when you, I guess, if you can believe and subscribe to the idea that your potential is not fixed, right? Your potential is kind of endless, right? But it's not just going to be achieved on its own. Like, you kind of have to dig and push and try and really want it. And so that's really, the benefit of trying to eliminate this sort of fixed mindset and grow into different possibilities.
Yeah, and I think, that takes us to really looking at what is a growth mindset, right? So a growth mindset, or people who tend to have more of a growth mindset, thrive on challenges, right? And thrive on constantly, learning or seeing failure as a fuel for growth. As much as, sometimes I don't like to use the word failure because it's never failing, it's learning, right? Yeah, and I think sometimes there's this whole notion where it's like fail. No, actually, it's not about failing. It's about just learning through the process, learning through your mistakes, learning through what, are not even mistakes, because you wouldn't even know that they were mistakes at that time. So it's just part and parcel of life, right? So rather than looking at things and going, I've just wasted my time on doing whatever, how do you go, okay, well, now I've learned that from doing this, actually, it will help me look at things in a slightly different way, or the way that I did it should be better, or that wasn't a waste because I learned that, I'm better at this, right? So how do you think about the way that you're looking at what could be seen as failures or mistakes differently, right? So again, that reframing. But the growth mindset is about being, open professionally and personally into looking at, like, how do we stretch our abilities? How do we stretch our potential? Yeah. Right? Like Sol was saying. And, things, I guess, our efforts, our skills, all of those things can be cultivated. And if it's really something that you want to learn, or something that you want to do, or something that you want to become, or anywhere that you want to move forward from where you are right now, can be cultivated. And that's what encompasses, that's what a growth mindset encompasses. And so, it's all about discipline, it's focus, but it's more so about how do you get your priorities around what is important for you at this stage of your life, and what are the key tasks, or things, not tasks, even key actions that you need to get to your vision. right? And so a growth mindset, has a direct correlation to happiness as well. Because if you can see things in a more optimistic way, without being, that whole positive mindset, positive thinking all the time, it's in a sense a bit more balanced, I guess, approach to things, right? Like we were saying, the possibility mindset.
Totally. And I guess, I mean, just to give an example, right? Because sometimes I also get that sometimes we don't really know what you don't know what you don't know, right? And so sometimes it's hard because we're not really, you might be thinking, okay, well, what am I going to grow into? And, okay, I can have a growth mindset, but then what, right? So just to give an example, it's like, if I looked at recently, I was asked to do an email interview about my career story, and so I was writing all this stuff, and I was trying to like kind of contain myself because I have such a long story, and I've tried so many different things, and it was really not a straight path, and one of the questions later on was, okay, what would you have done differently? And to your point, I was like, actually, I wouldn't have done anything differently. And at the time, everyone was like, oh, you should sort of choose a path and stick with it. And it's horrible because you are, sort of master of none and jack of all trades. And the reason was because I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I was able to experiment. And I guess for me, what's exciting is the challenge, right? Is that possibility of like, okay, let's see where it could go. So I tried photography, I tried sourcing, I tried research, I tried all these different things, not really with an end destination in mind. My only goal was to keep learning. And through that learning journey, hopefully discover a sense of purpose or discover myself better. And that is what happened, So when he asked me, what do you regret? I was like, okay, maybe I could have jumped into one career and saved myself a lot of stress and moving across the globe so many times and financial stress, all this stuff. But actually, I wouldn't have changed a thing. I wouldn't have, because I don't believe in regrets. And like you said, I don't really see it as a mistake. I see it as my journey and something that has actually enabled me to feel more resilient, to not be as scared about uncertainty, and to not have to know what the end destination is, but to focus on the growing.
Yeah. And I think actually that's something that probably just reiterates, like, as much as we share these things about, different mindsets and what we believe and through our own experience and what we think about for the Change School, it's also, I think, the biggest takeaway I would say for you guys is to go, what do you want to feel, or how do you want to feel, and what do you want to, what is your vision, right? And from there, it's kind of like have enough confidence and courage to just be who you are. Because there are moments where you're going to have your fixed mindset, and I think that's okay, right? It doesn't mean that we should be following the herd just because the growth mindset everyone thinks is the right way to do things, right? Or the best way to do things. Maybe at certain points of your life it's not. So I think just, talking about our own experiences and things, like Sol and I both have had very squiggly lines in our careers, or just maybe not as traditional,
conventional,
or conventional. But I think the biggest thing for me is always going, how can you be confident enough in what it is that you're doing? Not to a point where your ego gets ahead of you, or that you're hurting other people, but that you own what it is you're doing. And you own that being different is okay, right? And that you know that you're standing for a certain thing, or you're doing things in a certain way. And even if later on you realize it was a mistake or a failure, then fine. But, I think so often people are searching for the examples or the answers outside. And the bigger thing is, how do you build courage and confidence inside yourself to go, this is what I'm going to do, and this is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So whether that means that you're in a fixed mindset right now because maybe you need to be in a fixed mindset for certain things, fine, right? But I guess what we're trying to talk about is like the possibilities that a growth mindset gives you is, usually far more positive than it is negative with regards to like anything that you're wanting to learn or grow into or become, right? And it allows us to look at things in a new perspective and be open to it first versus automatically shutting it down, right? Or shutting down what someone says. So it's about trying new things. It's about like going and exploring new places. It's about going and connecting with people maybe in the subway or in the MRT that you would never have spoken to, right? It's about trying to just go outside of, your day-to-day norm. It's not even your comfort zone, your day-to-day norm, right? And see what those experiences bring back to you, whether it's ideas, whether it's igniting some sort of like new thought, or whatever it is that it's going to do. And I think it's just, trying to, maybe that thing, it's like, it's always, a growth mindset is not, it's not about accepting the social norms. It's about carving your own path, right? And doing things differently, differently to what anything, anyone else has said, even for us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we've been told multiple times things that we should be doing, and maybe there's been, oops.
The camera's on.
Hi, guys.
But the screen's gone black, sorry, so we're a little blind right now. Okay, we're back.
Okay. That's what happens when we can't see ourselves.
Yeah.
No. So, I think it's just, embracing new ways of life, of working, of thinking, of being, and taking in what works for you, right?
Yeah, and I think it can apply to so many things. I'm glad you can still see us, Pinky. Thanks for letting us know. We just disappeared for a minute. No, so I think, to I guess, recap again, right? I think the main thing is, like Grace said, it's not really about whether right now you have that fixed mindset or growth mindset. I think there's time and place for all these things. I think the real thing we want to encourage is that idea of possibility thinking and really defining things for yourself. And I think it can be in terms of work, it could be in terms of relationships, so I guess society defines so many things for us, right? Like, what is success? What is marriage?
Yeah.
What is family? What is love? What is your career? What is work? What is purpose? And, I think it's great that these ideas are shared and talked about because it prompts our thinking. But I think we shouldn't just subscribe to everything that's given to us. We should challenge the thinking, and we should question whether that holds true for us. Does, your friend's definition of success necessarily mean that that's your definition of success? And if not, what does that mean for you and your journey ahead, right? Or even if it's marriage, right? Like, if the world says that marriage should be X and it should look like this, and that love means that you do A, B, and C, is that something you take on, and then is there then a manual for how it should be, or is it something that you define for yourself and kind of learn it as you go through it, right? So I think the idea is really just having that courage to question things and to debate and to disagree and to put your opinion out there, and to form your own truth and view, because at the end of the day, it's your journey, and it's not somebody else's to define. Yeah. It's not somebody else to tell you what to do. It's just allowing yourself to figure it out for yourself and enjoy doing it as well, not be too serious about it, but just to be open to exploring and being open to whatever you want to call it, making mistakes or not making mistakes, but just learning.
Yeah, exactly. I think, just through all of our experience of working with people and our own experiences, right, where if we had listened to so many other people telling us what we should do, maybe we would be in a better place with certain things. I don't know, right? But at the same time, I think a lot of the times, it's just about when we speak to people or when we work with people, it's like, how do you really uncover who you are and know what it is? So that whole self-awareness side, right? And especially the way that things are moving. We don't know how things are going to be in the workforce. We don't know what new jobs are going to come out. We don't know what the different possibilities are that could come out, in the next 10, 15 years. So how do we create those possibilities that we want, and how do we start living that so that we can then move more positively in that direction? And if you decide to change your mind tomorrow, you can contradict yourself too, right? Because you learn new things. So it's okay. In the past, I've always had people say, well, but you said this the other day, and then now, 2 months later, you said this. Well, I've actually learned a whole bunch of other things. I have different lenses on, So
your mind wasn't
so what
fixed.
If I contradict myself? I should contradict myself. You should be doing that. So I think that's just something that we really want to emphasize. And we don't have a worksheet for this this episode because we think it's best that you go and read the book. So if, we have no affiliation whatsoever, we don't get, I don't know, what affiliate things or whatever it is from Carol Dweck. But hey, if you want to, we're here. So yeah, just like head on over to Amazon and you can get yourself a copy of the Growth Mindset.
And there's heaps of articles too,
totally.
Even if you don't want to buy the book. I mean, there's a lot of reading and really great infographics you can just check out. And I mean, I think if you can just kind of seed this whole idea that we've talked about today and kind of, ask yourself some of the questions we threw out, or just commit to going through today and observing your own thoughts and your reactions and your conversations, and just have in your mind like, oh, I wonder what that is, right? Is that my fixed mindset niggling at me? Or, is there a possibility here that I could explore further? And just see if you can start to become more conscious of that and how you decide to move forward with it.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess, the only thing we want to do a shout out for today, because we always have a shout out at the end, is our change planners. So that is going to be launching pretty soon, a lot sooner
than we expected.
Our own badass pants were ready for. So our change planner, if you haven't and you're wanting to change your habits or you change your mind, look, we're not making miracles here. You're still going to have to do the work. However, our change planner is pretty awesome. So if you head on over to bit.ly/change planner, that's small letters.
Well done. That was
right? So bit.ly/change planner, small letters. You will be able to register your early interest for our change planner so that as soon as we launch, you can get your fingers clicking and start buying.
And that can help you with your possibilities. It'll help you to start seeing what's possible for your life, what's possible for your career, and then how do you start taking action to get there.
Yes. And so, perfect. Thanks, Pinky. And I guess we can type it in here again, just in case.
And double click this.
Oh, sorry. And yeah, I think the main thing. Oh,
whoops.
Sorry. You
okay. Yeah.
I think with the change planner, it's dateless. So
yes.
The good thing is, if you buy it today, when it launches, you will be able to use it whenever you're ready, right? Or if you buy 10 of them, you can, use them all at different times, and they're going to be perfect Christmas gifts.
Yeah, exactly. Ahead of the New Year's resolutions, I think that's the best time to kind of, and probably people haven't received a gift like that before, so give the gift of change this season, and then hopefully you can start in January or sooner if you want, but to start working on the changes that you really want to see and exploring the possibilities.
Exactly. So head on over, and then we will have our blog recap of each episode like we usually do. So you can just head on over to thechangeschool.com/blog. You'll find it.
And we'll include some links in there as well that shares more about Carol Dweck's work, as well as some other cool free quizzes that are out there to help sort of check in with your own mindset.
Exactly. And, if you haven't yet, feel free to share this with anyone that you think would be helpful for, right?
Who needs some growth.
Exactly. You might be able to be like, oh, check this out, hint, hint, exclamation mark. Yes, give the gift of change days. So if you want to share this, or some of our older episodes, you can head on over to our YouTube channel and feel free to drop us a line of any subjects or topics or things that you want us to cover, because we are going to start mapping our content for 2018. And the more insights that you give us, the better. Change the world. Thanks, Daryl.
We'll try and make that a topic, Daryl.
So just feed us all your awesomeness, and we will see you next Tuesday at 12:30. And as we did say, we will be talking about side hustle next week.
Yes.
Right? So
we bumped that by a week, so stay tuned for that one on Tuesday.
Exactly. All right, guys, have an awesome last day of October, and we'll see you guys next week.
Bye!
See you!